kicked us off with a new industrial revolution.
Yeah, well, that's how some people at least are describing the CeBIT Technology Fair, which is kicking off in the German city of Hanover. The official focus of the summit is datability, which is the ability to use vast amounts of data quickly and responsibly. In the wake of the U.S. surveillance scandal, of course, data protection is an increasingly important and sensitive issue in Germany. David Cameron and Angela Merkel both attended the opening. They said their countries would team up to work on a new super-fast mobile network, which would be 5G. That would, in theory, allow a full-length film to be downloaded from the internet in just 1 second. The British Prime Minister said his government would commit over €85 million to researching and promoting connected technology. He said international cooperation was key.
This is a world on fast forward, a world of permanent technological revolution. And in this world, countries like the United Kingdom and Germany will only succeed if we have a relentless drive for new ideas and innovations.
Read that one.
Now, we're going to move on to some sobering news for the world's third largest economy. Japan's deficit hit its highest level since records began back in 1985. New data put the country's deficit at 1.5 trillion yen. That's about $15 billion for the month of January. We also saw growth estimates being revised downwards for last year. The economy is now thought to have grown at a rate of just 0.7% instead of a more robust 1%. These figures all tied to the increasing cost of energy, made even more expensive by the weak yen and sluggish export of Japanese goods. The national sales tax is due to be raised from 5% to 8% in the month of April, and a lot of analysts had expected consumer activity to strengthen ahead of that tax hike. That doesn't seem to have panned out for this month anyway. We've also seen some weak figures from China. The world's second largest economy said its inflation rate eased to 2%, down from 2.5% in the month of January. Falling prices, a potentially bad sign for economic growth because they encourage people to put off spending and investment. The government also said exports tumbled and imports increased, producing a trade deficit of $23 billion for the month of February.
OK, how have the markets been digesting all of that, Kate?
Well, we're seeing the Asian markets being weighed down fairly heavily, as you can imagine. Japan's Nikkei down about 1% there. The Shanghai Composite down over 1.5%, the Hang Seng as well. Malaysia Airlines, which of course is the operator of that missing flight we've been talking about, especially taking a hit. Its shares plunging 18% to a record low as trading opened, recovering a bit now, but still down around 8%.
And finally, talk about bursting bubbles. Prosecco has overtaken champagne as the world's top-selling sparkling wine. Oh no, Kate.
Yeah, I know. Well, for the first time ever, this Italian sparkling wine has beaten its French cousin in terms of the numbers of bottles sold. With sales of champagne increasingly on the slide around the world, Prosecco is being seen as a very delicious substitute. Joe Tandy has the details.
Italy's Prosecco makers are toasting their success. Last year, the sparkling wine from the country's northern Veneto region overtook France's champagne in terms of total bottles bought. In 2013, 307 million bottles of Prosecco were sold, compared with champagne's 304 million. Worldwide, Prosecco sales soared by 11.5%. Champagne sales seem to have lost their sparkle, falling by 1.5%. A second consecutive annual drop. And while Europe's economic crisis has soured the champagne market, Prosecco makers say they have always seen the glass as half full.
Prosecco is one of the few wines which hasn't been affected by the crisis. Over the last 30 years, I repeat, 30 years, uninterruptedly, Prosecco sales have grown, with higher and higher exports.
The decline in Prosecco consumption in Italy is more than compensated by the growth in sales abroad. The wine is now served at many of the world's best restaurants. As with champagne, sales are on the rise in Asia. Between 2010 and 2012, Prosecco exports to the continent exploded by almost 80%.
Kate, thanks very much for that roundup of the business news, and of course we'll see you in the next hour. It's time now for Web News here on Live from Paris.
This is the world over.